It's early Saturday morning for us. I guess it's not early for the real world, but I put on a shirt just for Sheldon. I am so excited to talk about the challenge. I'm John Shidley Hill,
And I am Sheldon Alexander.
and this is You Killed It, the podcast talking about the challenge. Everything I just said was true. I like to watch the challenge shirtless some days, especially when I've just woken up. Sheldon, you are giving me the weirdest looks. We've known each other long enough that you should know that I say weird shit all the time. But all of it's true. I'm not much of a kidder.
Also true. This is episode 255 of the You Killed It podcast. And we're
Classic
talking
Sheldon
about
Alexander ignoring me.
the Challenge USA, season 2, episode 8.
I
Shouts
got
to the people liking, following, and subscribing wherever you get your podcast.
I gotta tell you right off the hop, Shelley, I really liked this episode. Now, I will say, in general, I think we've been clear. You and I prefer the MTV version of the challenge, the grown-up version of the challenge.
Correct.
And watching this episode, what really was emphasized for me is the Challenge USA CBS challenge.
Mhm.
The focus is on the competitions, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. It was good today in this episode because the competitions were really interesting.
Yes.
And other episodes where they have not been so good,
Mhm.
it hurts the product.
Yeah, I think this was a really good competition. Like both the competition and elimination were both incredible. But I also think that it was a nice look back at the regular challenge, just because we saw the people who were putting in the work, we'll say, in the daily challenge, and then seeing the maneuvers behind the scenes. All the strings being pulled by the regular challenge people. But I will say so because it also means things like Bananas reaching out to Michaela and trying to work together with her. He has a foresight. That's something that the challengers will know they need to do at a certain point. You always got to be 3 steps ahead for the rest of the house and kind of have a plan for, okay, well, if this happens, cool. If I keep winning, cool. But what happens if the other strong people win? I kind of want to be there as well. So Bananas goes to Michaela, makes a deal, and this is my line of the episode where Michaela's trying to figure it out, and Banana says, "Listen, I might have a reputation, but I stab people in the chest, not in the back." And I thought that was very telling and very much a Johnny Bananas classic challenge line. So again, we don't talk about this before we record, but
No.
the themes are the same, right? The themes are right there as you're trying to really see how this game will play out with the rest of the house.
Yeah, and what I liked about this scene was it was interesting seeing Michaela's attitude because as we'd been talking about previously, she was maybe the most outspoken anti-challenge person, and here she is sitting down with Mr. Challenge,
Mhm.
Johnny Bananas, and coming to an understanding. And what I found interesting was that in confessional, she said, "Yeah, I wanted to work with Wes, but I feel like he wouldn't have made me a priority." Which brings me to a listener comment
Mhm.
from longtime listener, first time commenter, Shannon Planer. I hope I said your last name correctly, Shannon. She says, first of all, she led off by saying, "Love the podcast and am so glad you are doing this season. I look forward to your shows as much as I do the actual show," which is so nice. Thank you very much, Shannon. But then she went on to explain a little bit about Michaela because I don't watch Survivor. You don't really watch Survivor. Like, we're more likely to watch Big Brother if we're going to watch one of these other shows. And she has a little bit, Shannon has some insight into what Michaela is about. She says, about Michaela being rude to Wes, "I think that's just who she is. I imagine she is one of those people who says, 'I'm just being honest,' as an excuse to be rude or a dick. When she was on Survivor, there was a woman with an artificial leg. They were not in the same alliance, but the team had won a reward and the two of them were carrying the box back together. When they got to camp, they dropped it and started kind of wrestling each other to find the clue that everyone knew would be in the box.
Mhm.
In her confessional, she said something about knocking her fake leg off. Just unnecessary. You can be competitive at these and play these games like these without being an asshole, but she just is. I really disliked her on Survivor. I'm finding her less objectionable now, and I do think she can make some good TV. But I think she's just kind of rude in general, and she's clearly doesn't care because she doesn't seem to have changed a whole lot. That's some really helpful insight, Shannon, which I appreciate because, like, I find Survivor is definitely one of my blind spots when it comes to reality TV. It's just like I watched the first season, like the original season with what was that guy's name? Richard Hatch.
Mhm.
And then like I don't know, I could never get back into it. And like I want to be clear, I'm not saying it's a bad show. Just it's like for whatever reason it doesn't appeal to me. I know lots of people love Survivor. They ride or die with Survivor. It obviously pulls huge numbers. I think it's probably a great show. It doesn't land with me for whatever reason. So always appreciate anyone's insight into the workings of that show because I know I need it. I'm not going to speak for you, Shelly.
No, I totally get it. And I think that the help that we get from time to time from other people who watch the shows and have a better understanding of the characters, I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to share the information to gain better understanding and love the show even more.
Yeah.
In terms of this actual daily challenge, what did you make of this daily challenge? Because I thought it was pretty cool. It was kind of complicated in the sense that you I want to know how they pick the teams first off, like the heats.
Yeah.
But the four people in a heat, you have to swim out to a buoy. You swim down deep into the waters to find a puzzle, which you then have to guess what the clues are, and the clues are going to give you a theme. You swim back up. You put the code into your lockbox. You get a flashlight. Then you swim into a cove. There's a bigger puzzle that's going to give you another theme. Then you swim back, and then you open your box and you win. Lots going on, but then added to the fact they established early that it's super deep, it's super cold, and you can't really see. All of these factors playing in to make it even more difficult.
Yeah, it was interesting as TJ explained it or tried to explain it. I was like, geez, are we going to have to give the Challenge USA producers the doing too much award? Like, this seems super complicated. But then when they actually did it, I'm like, oh, this is straightforward. Like,
Mhm.
you swim, you just figure out these puzzles, and then like that's the answer key to your locks. And what I liked about there was two interesting things I found. The first interesting thing was how people are still seemingly a bit in team mode
Mhm.
because like every successive heat that went, every heat sort of said like, oh yeah, we'll work together, and then like some did, some didn't. It's mixed results. Um, but it was funny to me, like it's an individual competition. People are like, well, we're on this one together. Like, no, you're not. That's your direct competition. There's two men and two women. Only one man and one woman overall can win. You got to beat the people in your heat as well as the people in the other heats.
Yeah.
The other thing I found interesting though was man, the challenge difference. You
Yeah.
know, we talk about how the level of difficulty on the challenge is so much higher compared to Big Brother and Survivor. This isn't like having to carry an egg on a spoon along a slippery pathway like in the Big Brother house. This is way harder.
Yeah.
And also, we talk about this all the time. I don't want to say there's hacks or cheat codes, but the longtime challenge competitors know that there's ways to cut corners, ways to break the game,
Mhm.
right? And like we saw, especially with Wes and Tori and Johnny, where they're all basically like, "Oh, I saw one word. That's enough. Like I'm just gonna go start
Yeah.
guessing. That's all I need. I know it's a four-letter word. Let's go. Like let's get out there." And that's how all three of them they weren't, and also Josh, they were all like way up there and did way better than everyone else just because they weren't trying to look and find every single word. They're just like, how can I get this done as fast as possible? What did
Yeah.
you think of how the challenge vets handled this?
I thought it was really cool because the other big key was that you weren't allowed to watch the other heats go. So I thought that was a huge and a really good wrinkle as well, because now it's left up to the four of you as a team to figure out, okay, well, what's our strategy here? And I thought the first group was the most interesting just because, Tyler leaves to just guess, and then the other two end up copying him, right? And I thought that was just like a terrible thing to do. And obviously that didn't work out for them. But then Cassidy doesn't have the experience enough to actually fully take advantage of the other team members messing up. I thought that was hilarious, right? Bananas giving his crew a clue because he knows he's a better swimmer and he was probably going to beat them anyways. But him giving them the clue of pause, but them thinking it was pause as in Pause, not PAWS. That to me was hilarious. And at first I was like, wait, how did they mess that up? But obviously, like, we're seeing the word. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's why it would be so obvious to us.
Do you think Johnny Bananas gave them a purposely dense word, or do you think he just got lucky there?
I think he just got lucky there, because if he was smart enough to think of that, he's the guy that would have played that up for the cameras and hyped it up even more. And look how smart I am. I tricked them.
Because it was perfect. It was the perfect thing to say.
Exactly. Yeah. Because think that when we think of Michelle, Tori, and Sebastian, like that whole crew when they went, and Wes, I love the fact that Wes is like, yeah, we're all gonna work together, and then just leaves.
Yeah. Well, he's right. Like that's my point. Like you have to beat the people in your heat, right? Yep. And even then, he left before Tori, but Tori beat him. Yeah. And it's fine because he's actually in an alliance. But like, it's like he's right. Like, what matters is your alliance outside the competition, not the one inside of it. Like, he was just being real.
What about the decision to let Josh win? I was just like, why are they letting Josh?
You know what? You let him win so that he feels good. Like that's about playing the person, not the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. At the end of the day, though, Tori ends up winning by 6 minutes, which is a crazy amount of time. Bananas beats Josh by about a minute, and by about 2 minutes actually. And then Bananas and Tori, who are the winners, and that sets the stage for, again, this is a very old school challenge type theme for this episode, because again, they now decide we're gonna go to a bunch of the strong women in the house. They go to Desi, Michaela, and Chanel, and they essentially make a deal with them. Hey, we're not going to say your names, and you guys don't say ours if you guys end up winning. What do you think of this collaboration here by this group?
I mean, it's going to be short-lived, and I think it's really sort of a classic. Sort of, you see the naivete of non-challenge vets.
Okay.
Like those three women that they approached. Do they really think that Tori's not going to stick the knife in them when she gets the chance? The person that Tori really is going to want to keep is Alyssa S. And what's the other?
Cassidy.
Cassidy. She wants to keep Cassidy. She wants to keep Alyssa, right? Like, and like Tori got into this in confessional where she's like, I've been to the final 5 times. I've won once. I know that what you really want is you want strong people on your side until the very end. And then you get rid of as many of them as you can so that you don't have to go against them.
Yeah.
And we see it also a little bit later on when Johnny Bananas is explained to Chanel, like, yeah, no, we want Alyssa around because she's a layup, like, because you can all take her. And like, you know, I think of, as much as I dislike Michaela's personality, I think Michaela is quite smart.
Mhm.
And I think Desi's quite smart too. And I think they'll figure this out. But I also think it's probably going to be too late by the time they figure it out. Like I
Yeah.
think I don't know. I wouldn't be trusting Johnny Bananas. Just like the thing about Johnny is he is loyal, as he said it himself. He doesn't stab people in the back; he stabs them in the front.
Mhm.
He is going to be more loyal to Tori than he is to them,
Of
and he's going
course.
to be
And
more loyal to Wes than he is to them.
of course. And, you know, you see the same thing kind of playing out on the guy's side as well, where, hey, we're going to throw in Tyler. And they knew the plan all along was to throw in Tyler and Monty. And as Bananas says, you know, he kind of knew what was going to happen. But the way that he explained it, another great line from Bananas, he says he's going to throw in Tyler. Tyler's going to try to save Alyssa because, quote, nice guys finish last in the challenge. And I just
Every
thought,
time.
every time. And I just thought it was so funny to have Bananas say that. And then you see how things play out, where as soon as it's Tyler and Alyssa, Tyler goes on this campaign to make it a men's elimination to save Alyssa. And it's like, I get it. You just met her last week, though, bro. You
Yeah.
know? But
Yeah.
did
But
she
this,
say later on that she loves him? Did I catch that?
yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
like a casual, like, oh, I love that guy. He's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like poor sweet Tyler. And like it's interesting. So I had seen Tyler on not his first season with Fessel, but on the All-Star season he was on
Mhm.
of Big Brother. And you know, this is classic Tyler. He's
Yeah.
pretty emotional. He's a little naive. You
Mhm.
know, he sometimes gets the hard eyes for someone in the house, and it
Yep.
clouds his judgment. Like in Big Brother All Stars, like he came right to the edge of quitting the show
Mhm.
just because like he missed. I think it was he missed his girlfriend. Like this is very much him.
Yeah.
And like you know what? I bet Tyler is a super nice guy in real life. Like I bet he's like good company, has interesting things going on. But like you need a bit more of an edge, my friend. And you know, maybe he and Alyssa are the real deal, but like I have it in my notes. This is noble but stupid. Like this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? Like you should be campaigning to get in a layup. Like his campaign was just like make it a men's elimination,
Mhm.
not put in Sebastian,
Yeah.
which like is a plan that Alyssa comes up with and like a little effective. Like they got some votes on Sebastian, but not effective enough to protect Tyler.
No. And I mean, I thought it was pretty funny too, just the whole everyone goes to the club, Tori and Sebastian stay back. And I feel like the challenge. And I can't lie to you, in this instance, I'm glad that it wasn't a bigger and longer scene because I didn't really need to see more of Sebastian and Tori. But I thought that was super lame. We're gonna stay back and have a date on the confessional camera. Like, what? I don't even understand the point of that. Or sorry, I take that back. I completely understand the point of that because they know having a date on a confessional camera will make the show. And as Tori normally does, she's trying to just be on the show by making
Mhm.
up house romance. Yeah.
Wow, shots fired at our girl Tori.
Hold on, show me the lie.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't expect you to be so brave and honest. Um, I This is also one of my criticisms of the Challenge USA. I already came at it from one angle where it's more competition centric. I forgot that Tori and Sebastian were a thing. Like the extra 30 minutes of television when it's on MTV, that's where we get the juice, right? Like
Mhm.
that's where we would get to see the date back at the house when everyone else is at the club would be a 5 minute scene. At the club, we'd get to see some dancing. You know, we'd have to have our foreign correspondent, Adi Pinsoff, tell us what songs they were dancing to. We're
Mhm.
missing out on all that, right?
Yeah.
Instead, the club and the date in total, that was like, what, 2 minutes of the show?
Yeah. Yeah, really nothing really happened. And basically they build up the theme that maybe it could be Sebastian, but then when the votes come down, it ends up being 6 votes for Sebastian, 1 vote for Cassidy, made by Wes, and then Monty with 7 votes. Ends up in the hopper, and of course, we know it ends up being Tyler versus Monty. And that's where I was like, wait, did Alyssa say she loves Tyler? Okay, cool, whatever. But let's for sure make sure that we leave enough time. Well, I can't talk this morning. That we leave enough time to talk about this elimination.
Because it was a good
for
one.
Spool. Too cool for Spool.
This was a great elimination. So good. And like, I know I've just spent this episode of You Killed It praising the challenge MTV version.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see, this is very much like a PG one. Like, no one's getting hurt doing Too Cool for Spool.
Mm-hmm.
But man, show me this one more often. Like, this was a great and intriguing elimination. What they have to do is they have to stack a pyramid of balls on top of a spool, which sounds easy, except they are attached to the spool. So when they move, the spool winds or unwinds, depending on which direction they're going. So they have to go slow. And the spool's pretty heavy. And like the spring or whatever they're using to like maintain the tension seemed really strong. Like early on, Tyler got like thrown into it twice. Like he got yanked into it just by the strength of that spring. And Sheldon, they're at this for 3 hours.
That's the part that got me. I was like, after when it was a half hour and they were almost done, I thought, oh, okay, that's a pretty long time to be doing this. And then obviously it falls because there's multiple times where each of them are so close right at the end. And then their pyramid falls apart. And for me to look at it at a half hour and be like, whoa, that's a pretty long time. Then it got to an hour. Then it got to an hour and a half. Then it was 2 hours. And it's like, this is so crazy. And the reason too, what makes it so good is because we had no idea who was going to win until the very end, right? There was no telltale one way or the next because each of them were so damn close. And that's a sign of a really good elimination. Also a good sign of a good elimination. The bench reacts. Watching the rest of the contestants watch and have them like just lose it as soon as all of the pyramid balls fell apart. That was incredible as well. I just thought it was such a good overall elimination. And, you know, you could tell Tyler by like when he won, you could see just everything pouring out of him. And Monty, as much as he probably wanted to feel bad, like, how can you feel bad? You know what I mean? Like, that's such a random, fluky elimination. That not fluke, that's a wrong word, but like it could have went either way is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I did say, like, in my notes, I noted very early on, like, I think this might be skewed ever so slightly towards Tyler because he does like yoga and stuff. Like his typical fitness routine seems to focus on conditioning and core strength and stuff, which this competition definitely needs. Although, I mean, Monty, at one point, he is maybe 2 feet away from smashing that buzzer.
Yeah.
And then it all falls apart. Like it was so back and forth. It was so close. My line of the episode happens during this as Desi and Wes do commentary and she's pretending to hold the microphone. And Wes ends up saying, you know, the key is not having too big a jerk, which I thought was just like a lovely little play on words. And just the whole, like, the Challenge USA needs more banter, and that was a nice little back and forth.
I bet you Wes won some money on that because that's clearly one of those. I bet you we can get this past the CBS censors.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely what was going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, great episode all around. And I just think, as you said it right off the top, a great elimination, a great daily challenge, and great work by the challengers.
Yeah.
But you just know it's going too smooth right now that something else has to flip on its head.
Yeah, I mean, probably. Like, it's not going to be this current format till the end,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right? Like, are you gonna
Mhm,
tell me? Because I don't know how many episodes are left, but like, there's gonna be probably 8 people heading into the final 2 episodes,
mhm,
4 men, 4 women, and then they'll have like one last um elimination, right? So that
mhm.
it's 3 on 3 for the finale.
Yep.
So they got a lot of people to get rid of, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like 5 more episodes. I can't imagine we're going to see the same format for 5 more episodes. You know what I mean?
I think as I look it
Maybe
up
there's a
now,
purge or double elimination coming, but
I think there might only be 10 episodes this season. As I look it up now,
mhm.
I think there might only be 10. So this was episode 8. Would that make sense that there could only be 2 more episodes?
No, I think there's got to be
Okay,
12 episodes because if they'd be like already hyping the finale, right? And they're gonna for
true.
sure if the premiere they tried to describe as 2 episodes. Remember how they're like, oh yeah, they're like
Yeah.
double long when we're like, this is just episodes 1 and 2. So they're gonna do something like that. I will say, however, the fact that they're advertising for the next season of Survivor
Mhm.
shows that we're getting closer.
12 episodes is what I'm seeing. Sorry.
There you go.
12 episodes. Good
So they
call,
got to
John.
get
Good
rid of a
call.
whole. Thank you. They got to get rid of a whole lot of people over the next 2 episodes.
Yeah. Just a great show so far. I have zero complaints. I'm more interested to see Chris, I think, is someone who will have a big point going forward just because I think he's at an interesting place where he can pick whatever side he's on. And also the discussion of the old challengers, no, the old Big Brother people versus the new Big Brother people. This was the first episode that was brought up in terms of not Corey, Fessy and Josh. And like, wait, are they Big Brother? Or are they challenge? Right? Like, how is this the first time we're talking about this? But,
I
anyways,
mean, I'm sure they've spoke about it before, but again, the shorter episodes means we're getting less insight.
you're right. You are totally right, my friend.
An important question for you, Sheldon Alexander: who killed it this week?
I mean, to me, this is super obvious. It's got to be Tyler. Tyler killed it, and the reason why Tyler killed it was because at the end of the day, he drew what's the line I'm looking for? He drew the sword, stepped on the sword. No,
He
he
fell on the sword.
sacrificed. He fell on the sword. Thank you, John.
I
He
got
fell
you.
on the sword for his lady in the house, and I feel like Tyler already had them swooning over him before, and coming out on top in a great elimination will only have Alyssa swooning over him even more. I want to know what his ex, what is her name? I want to say, what was her name? I can't remember, but
I
I'm sure
genuinely
she's at
can't
home
remember.
watching. Yeah, she's at home watching. I'm thinking of every name that's not hers, and that's what makes it even funnier. I'm like, Amanda, no. Alyssa, no. Andrea, no. What is her name? There's someone yelling at it right now, yelling at us right now while they're listening. But the point remains, the ladies love Tyler. And I think that nothing that happened in this episode did anything to change that,
No,
right? Chivalry is not dead.
but it is foolish. I know it all worked out for him. I mean, we say
For
that it's
now,
working.
we're
We
talking about this episode.
and we say that it all worked out for him, but he also eliminated his closest ally in Monty. Like that's not an L. That's not a W. Sorry.
True, true.
Like that's like they were saying like, oh, this is pretty rough. There's only 3 members of the Big Brother Alliance left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now there's only 2.
Yeah.
Like
No, you're right. You're totally right.
I will say I agree with you. I think Tyler killed it because I mean it was such an impressive elimination. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, he won the battle, but he's not going to win the war. You know what I'm saying?
Angela is her name, and that's why I couldn't think about it. And it was funny
Right.
because I was just going all the way around all the other A female names.
There you go. You got it. That's what matters. That's what matters. Where can the
Hold,
good people?
hold on, hold on. Who was your MVP?
I told you I agreed with you,
Oh,
Tyler.
oh, okay.
Because like,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
else
yeah.
could it be?
I'm with you.
Um,
Sorry.
that's fine. Where can the good people find you on social media?
Oh man, you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, and like and subscribe wherever you get the pod. We really appreciate y'all listening to the pod and getting to it and sending us in your comments and questions. Bless us with the like, bless us with the share, rate us, all that fun stuff. That's how you support the movement that is the You Killed It podcast.
Here's how I'm gonna streamline it. Are you ready? You can find me on social media at J Chidley Hill. You name the platform, even if that platform has recently changed its name to a stupid, edgy 90s name, J Chidley Hill. That's where I'm at. And until next episode, this was You Killed It.
You killed